It is so hard to know when to let go of an unhappy customer. I know I struggled with it. I end up thinking about it Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. when I'm brushing my kids' teeth. It just flashes into my brain thinking, oh my gosh, that person doesn't like me, and I'm not sure if they're going to stay my customer. And it starts to erode your mental health and take away from other parts of your life. And at that point, it's time to let go. But what does that look like? When is it time to let go of an unhappy customer? In this video, I'm going to break down when it's time to let go of a customer, the positive mental space that's going to come when you do that, and the way to say it so that you can part as amiably as possible. Let's get into it. I want to start by sharing a story from my own personal life. I had a customer that was one of the first large accounts I ever wrote, and they were my customer for about 10 years. But then at one point, I had a renewal with them that did not go the way they wanted. Their costs came down, but one line item went up, and they thought that I just did not do a good job. And from that point on, it seemed like they did not trust anything I said. So for 2 years, every conversation I had with them, they second guessed me. They came back and they would make sarcastic snips. And every time I walked away, I just felt a little bit less good about myself. And then Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., I'm brushing my kids' teeth. They would flash into my mind, and I think, man, I know they're not happy, and I think they're on the verge of leaving. Well, sure enough, at one point, they did. But a crazy thing happened. I felt better after they left. And so here's some of the lessons that I learned from that whole experience about when to let go. One, it's time to let go when every conversation you have with them is unpleasant. You'll you can give the same type of advice to two people, and the person that likes you and trusts you, they're going to say, "Man, that's a really good idea. I really appreciate you bringing that up. You know what? The best thing I ever did was start working with you." You can give that same piece of advice to someone that doesn't like you, doesn't trust you, and they're going to say, "Well, where'd you come up with that? Man, you're kind of dumb. You know that?" Customer A, it's easy. And I'm going to tell you that as I've built my book of business, I've realized that about 90% of my customers, I don't think about all that much. I mean, I think about it when it's my time to do my job for them, but I don't think about them in the sense that I don't worry about them because I know I'm on solid ground with them, that they believe in the work that I've done and I'm delivering a good product to them. It's the 10% that I know are unhappy with me that consume my thoughts. And I've come to the place where I realize it's just time to evacuate that 10%. My whole life will get better. So when every conversation you have with them, they take the most negative spin on the conversation, that's a good indicator that it's time to let them go. And if they are constantly reminding you of mistakes that you made in the past, that's a really good sign to let them go. I'm going to tell you a story different from the first one. I worked with a school and their onboarding process didn't go as smoothly as possible. I didn't do it. It was another agent that I came in afterwards for. But that every conversation I had with that customer, they reminded me, that onboarding, it really didn't go well. That onboarding, it really didn't go well. This went on for 2 years. Every conversation, it felt like I was walking into a rainstorm and I was going to get rained on because of something that happened 2 years ago that I didn't control, that I've done everything I could to fix, that there's nothing left to do to resolve the situation. It's either they're going to make a decision that it's okay, I forgive these people, or I don't. And after 2 years, I made a decision that they're not going to move on. And they were getting into a renewal process and they were saying, I'm really just not sure if you're the right broker for me because you did this one thing this year. And you remember 2 years ago when you really messed up bringing me on as a customer? It was that, and I realized it was that constant reminder of a mistake that happened that didn't go smoothly, even if it got rectified. They were never going to move on from that original mistake. And at the end of the day, our customers either have to trust us or they don't. And if they really don't trust us and they're not going to forgive for mistakes that happen, they probably need to move on. because what will happen is they'll constantly remind you about those mistakes. They'll make you feel miserable about it, but they're just holding it over their head. So for that customer, I told him, I think you're going to be happier with another broker. And so if you reach this point where you've got a customer that every time you walk away, the conversation is unpleasant, they don't talk to you well, they don't trust what you're saying, they just don't seem to like you all that much, and they're constantly reminding you of things that went wrong in the past, and it's time to move on. Here's a framework on how you can do it. And it's not about framing it in terms of yourself, it's in terms of the customer's interests. And you say, hey, look, I've heard you, and I don't want to hold you hostage. I think that for you, the best thing in this situation may be for you to find a new broker because you are going to get the most out of your insurance renewal process if you have a person that you know, you like, and you trust, and it just doesn't seem like you're going to be able to get there with me. And so I think for your benefit, it's going to be in your best interest if you go find somebody that is going to be a better fit for you. When you frame it in terms of it's in their best interest, even if you're saying it because in your brain you're thinking, man, I think you're a jerk and I'll be happy if I never talk to you again. If you frame it in terms of this is going to be what's best for you as a customer, it's a little bit harder for them to come back and argue with you, especially if they feel that way. So when I did that for the school, he didn't argue with me. He honestly, he was already there. That customer wanted to leave and he was just gonna lord it over me as long as possible, but what I needed in that situation was to be able to move on so that I could replace it, find a better customer, and get my business to a better place, and frankly, he needed to get his business to a better place too. So when you can frame that part in conversation as, "Hey, look, I think highly of you, I think highly of your organization. I really just think that the best thing for you would be if we parted ways." That's a graceful way to do it that's non-confrontational and can leave the door open going forward. Now, look, this example is kind of the outside case. In most situations, we're trying to win our renewals and keep our customers. And I made a whole video about that for how to build your book. It's called Winning Renewals is How Insurance Producers Build a Real Book of Business. And if you click right here, I dig right in to how to build a big book of business by keeping the customers you built. And I'll see you there.